Well, do you want to start? We start from the beginning. So talk about like where you grew up, all that kind of jazz.
Okay.
I know we've got a few days. Lockdown hasn't ended yet.
Just checking what time it is. How back I remember. Well, I born and bred in Snetty, grew up in Pwll. Lived obviously with my parents. Went to Glanamore. Oh, I'm just going to turn my mute because it's just going to beep every 10 seconds. Oh my God. Went to Glanamore, went to college. And I suppose when you're in school, I literally didn't even know what I wanted to do when I was younger. Just thought I wanted to do, I don't know, be a nurse, be something else. And then I'd like flip and choose between them all. I started when I went to college, and I was doing A-level or AS level to begin with, biology. And then I probably only did like my first year of that, and then switched what I was doing. So I ended up doing sports therapy, which then turned into sports science or sports and exercise science in the college. So I did that for, how long's the course? 2 years, I think, something like that.
Yeah.
And from there, I went to university in Salford in Manchester. And I did physiotherapy for 2 years. I went up there because it was, Salford was the choice that I went to. I got the choice that I wanted, but primarily as well, they kept open specific number of places for Welsh students just because the funding was there for Welsh hospitals and things like that.
Get the poverties in.
In North Wales. So again?
Get the poverties in.
Well, yeah, exactly. Make sure they can get their bursaries. And basically that's what it was, because then the university in St Salford then could obviously use the hospitals up in North Wales and use those links for work placements and stuff.
Yeah.
But I only did 2 years because I ended up, not so much burning out, but I left. Admit Alison's in now.
Yeah, got it.
I left because my eating disorder that I had as of the age of 13 reared its ugly head and just sent me on a bit of a spiral. So ended up leaving uni. I was supposed to have a year out, and the uni was fine with that. And it was supposed to be that I'd have the full year out, try and sort myself out and everything else, and then go back and finish. And then probably within about, I don't know, I can't even remember the term that I left, but say it was like over Christmas holidays or whatever, they came back and I had a letter then come January saying that I needed to go back in January. So I'd only been out for, weeks at most, maybe a couple of months.
Yeah.
Because the funding situation was changing. So if I wanted my course to continue to be funded, I had to go back there and then. If not, I had to fork out for it. So the decision was that I just had to leave. I did go back for a couple of weeks and then just fell back into the same habits and everything else. So then just made a decision to leave. And then what did I do? I think I moved. I can't remember time-wise. I think I ended up moving home for a while. But I was with Dave by that point because he was from Manchester. So I met him whilst I was working in JJB. Loving life in the Trafford Centre in Manchester. So I met him whilst I was up there, and then when I left uni, I decided to come home for a bit. So he moved back with me. So he moved in with my parents. That was fun. And it wasn't very long. I think I went then from coming out of university, doing a physio degree, to going to work for Diamond Car Insurance in Swansea.
Wow.
Yeah, a bit of a complete 360 on what I was intending to do. So worked there for about a year or so. Then we decided to move back to Manchester. Not for me to go back to uni or anything like that, but we just moved back to Manchester. And I lived there for 12 years doing all shitty jobs, like working for insurance. So because I'd worked for car insurance down here, it was easy to find a job up there in like call centres, and you just end up going from different call centre job to call centre job. And then 5 years before I came back, I was working for a debt management company. So all the ones who are out there getting all their, running up their debts with catalogues and Christ knows what else, and then saying they can only pay 50p a month back. So I had to deal with all of that. And I had Alfie when I was up there. So me and Dave got married in the meantime. I had Alfie. He was born in Manchester. He's English. And when I was 38 weeks pregnant with Ellis, we decided to move home to Llanelli.
Wow, no pressure.
So, no. But when I moved back to Llanelli, I was 38 weeks pregnant. Dave was still working in the job that he was up there because he was waiting for a transfer. So I moved down with just me and Alfie. And he was coming back on the weekends, just praying that if I did go into labour, he'd be back in time. And as it happened, it was the one of the weekends that he was home that I went into labour anyway. And then Ellis was born. We still lived in Llanelli and everything then anyway. And I, in my, I don't know, whatever word, just assumed because I'd worked in so many call centres and things like that and had a good job. I was, doing audit, I was an auditor and things like that in, this debt management company. I thought that I'd be able to just walk into any sort of a job in that line. So I didn't stress about it when I was on maternity leave. Started applying for jobs and literally just couldn't get a job. Potentially because I was looking for part-time hours and things like that as well. Just found it really difficult to get into anything. But I'd always loved training. I'd always loved the human body, the anatomy side of things like that. I'm like skipping back now, I keep forgetting to add things in. And I'd always trained, I'd always gone back and forth to the gym, tried to do things, but had no knowledge really, had no actual background knowledge of what I was doing. So I was the same as a lot of people who'd go to the gym. I'd go and try and run on the treadmill for 20 minutes, then I'd go on the cross trainer for 15 minutes, then I'd go on the rower, then I'd look around and think, I don't even know what I'm doing. And I would literally just go in, and my target would be set that I'd go off the calories on each of the machines, top them up to 1,000 calories, and then by the time I did that, I'd go home. And I did that for so long, and like I say, you just don't see any sort of change in your shape, in your body, or anything like that. So you just, I don't know, you just think, well, I don't even know what I was doing. So I was just mucking around with it, really. And then I suppose that's how a lot of people lose any sort of motivation. And I'd joined other gyms when I was up in Manchester. But the complete turnaround for me was when I worked in that debt management company. I worked there for 5 years. And the guy who ran the company was trying to create some sort of like Google village. So he had, all the offices were there on site. All the amenities you had your on-site canteen and everything else. But we also had an on-site gym with 2 personal trainers for 50p a month.
For how much?
50p a month. And that was only for tax reasons.
Don't get any ideas, people.
Yeah. So I basically went in there, and Dave and I were only engaged at the time. So I'd gone in like the August or whatever it was, or the September that I started. I was due to get married in the March, and I was like, right, I need help. Sort me out. I need to get into a wedding dress. Like, the biggest motivation that probably most women have, at least, getting ready for that wedding dress. And the 2 trainers there were amazing. So I was, and it was pretty much having personal training on tap. So depending on what time of the day there was going, there'd either be classes or you could book in with them. And I became a bit, I suppose fanatical, maybe a bit the word I'd be looking for, because I would train at least like 10 times a week. I would go in first thing in the morning. I'd go in, 6, 7 o'clock before I started work. Depending on what my shift was, then I'd go back and train then in the evening. I'd do boot camps with them on the weekend. We'd do all day boot camps. They'd obviously do them like once every few months. You do things like that. But then was when, my shape absolutely changed. I managed to lose about 2.5 stone ish before my wedding, because with obviously with having an eating disorder, it doesn't just go away overnight. So I'd have spikes in my weight, I'd lose weight, I'd maintain my weight for ages, then shit would happen and then it'd go back up. So it was just one of those things that I was literally like this. But then training kind of
I got tissues here if you need them.
Your airplane send it over. It made the difference.
Yeah.
Come back to this in a minute. I think someone else. No. It did make a difference because it changed my outlook on things. I knew I was going to go like this. Sorry. Oh no, and I put my bloody mascara on for the first time in about 3 years.
So hello.
Yeah. I don't know. So it just really helped, and for a long while it was manageable. And then I suppose you just kind of, and I've lived with it since I was like 13. So for me, it's really weird that it's just like a part of me. Whereas, I can tell people about it and they think it was like really extreme, but for me, it doesn't even seem weird that I just thought, oh, well, I can eat what I want and then just do whatever to eliminate it and everything would be all right. And that would be how that I would manage my weight and how I would manage my emotions and my stress and everything else. And I'm not going to lie, it rears its head every now and again. But that's just a part of me, and I think that's just something I'm going to have to live with forever. As many things as I can do to try and combat it and that type of thing, it'll just be part of my makeup, I think.
Yeah. But you can recognize the signs of it coming and when you start falling into those habits again, which is definitely good.
And like I say, through training and everything else, it just meant that your focus shifts, and it wasn't to the point that I was ever training to kind of like I say, you can't out train a bad diet. I think I rode a wave for a little while with the amount of training that I did, but it's just something that you'll never ever be able to combat. So I could see pictures of me where I'd be at, and I can remember coming home from uni once and my mother going, oh my God, you're emaciated. I was nowhere near emaciated, but because I'd been in Manchester and she'd come back and obviously she hadn't seen me properly for a good few months, she then panicked about it. And then because I was so far away, I suppose things like that she worries about stuff like that. But, it's not a secret in my family. Dave knows about it. Dave knew about it, well, when we started seeing each other. And it's just, and he knows my tells and like the little deceptive ways that I used to try and cover things up. And it's something now that I can't hide. We obviously live in a house together. And I've also got 3 kids. So that's in the back of my mind, that I don't want any of those little habits that I think that I'm being discreet about to ever rub off on them. And for them to think, well, that's the norm. Because that would be like worst case scenario for me.
Yeah. Kids are very observant as well, aren't they? That's the problem.
Even to the fact that, even Poppy drags the weigh-in scales out next to the cyclone in the morning, and you're like, oops. But even the kids, they'll jump on the scale sometimes, and they're just going. They just think it's because that's how big they are and how strong they become. That's it, and I never want to associate weight being an issue for them. So if it was something that they ever picked up on, then I'd make sure that I pulled it back, and I wasn't so, I don't know, not obvious about it, but just making it the forefront of what they see about me. I want them to be able to, yesterday I was training and I was in the kitchen, Poppy was in a high chair, the kids were eating their sandwiches, and I was doing bloody single arm snatches in front of the TV with them, with, the dumbbell and stuff like that. So the fact that I want them to see me just training, eating healthy. You'll ask the kids, what does mommy have for tea every day? And they'll be like, salad. But, so I just want the health and the benefits of that to rub off on the kids and hope that they never actually see anything else.
It's with weighing skills, it should just be seen as, the kids see brushing your teeth. There's no emotion involved with it. And that's the same with the weighing skills. Some kids will see you standing on it, stepping off it, and not swearing or throwing the hissy fit or anything. And that's the way it should be with everyone, really. Everyone watching us should be thinking like that.
This, like I say, it's not, obviously there's some days you get on the scales and you just think, shit. But then I know as well why that happens.
Yeah.
And last night I got on the scales this morning, I was 2 pounds heavier than I was, but that's because the kids all played her. I had to do a 1-to-1 yesterday evening with Poppy sat in my lap, and I was eating my tea at 11 o'clock at night. So I was well, I got on the scales knowing full well the scales would have gone up.
Yeah.
But it's just, like I say, my knowledge now behind that, whereas other people who could be new coming into the gym would shit the bed over it and be like, what the hell has gone on?
Yeah. 2 pounds of fat overnight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, but coming into, so obviously with those trainers and the personal trainers in the gym when I was in Manchester, they changed my outlook on things. They changed the way that I trained. I trained with weights, knew what to do in the gym. So I knew that I was competent enough to do it. And then that's obviously where my love of training grew properly. And then when I came back to Llanelli, like I said, I tried to get jobs everywhere. And a job came up asking for a fitness instructor who you didn't need any qualifications for, in a gym called Curves in Crosshands. I'd never even heard of Curves in my entire life. Yeah. And it said no experience necessary, that they would train you on the job or wherever. And I thought, well, do you know what, in for a penny. So I applied for it. Went down for the interview, and I was shitting myself after the interview, going for the interview, because Ellis was only, I think he was about 11, 12 months old. So I was still carrying baby weight and everything else. And I was going in and I felt like I had to explain myself, be like, I've just had a baby, I'm still fat because of that. But I had the interview and I got the job there. And I think, like I say, the knowledge that I'd accrued from being with good personal trainers certainly rubbed off, and it reflected in my interview. Probably the fact that I did things like sports science and all that type of thing as well, because that background was obviously there. But I got the job. But Curves, if nobody's ever been to a Curves or even knows what it is, it's a women's only gym, and it's a 30-minute circuit. I walked into the gym not knowing what it was, and literally walked in. I was like, what the fuck is this place? And I literally was like, where is everything? Because you go in and the room is set up in obviously a circuit and literally in a circle. There were, depending on what kind of curves that you would go to, there was 10 hydraulic machines that worked different body areas, and there was a mat in between each piece of kit, or in between each machine. and there would be a beeper, music, and then a beeper constantly beeping every 30 seconds. And you'd get on one machine and do as much as you can for that 30 seconds, get off, jog on the spot for 30 seconds, get on the next machine, jog on the spot, next, and you'd go around 3 times, and that would be a 30-minute circuit. And obviously people were coming in, and to begin with, I was just like, all right, okay, it is what it is. She used to do things like kettle size classes, so we do like the extras there. Then I started doing like boot camp-esque type things, or rather than just jogging on the spot, there'd be actual exercises in between. So she changed that. Then after like a couple of years, the franchise ran out, so then she opened or rebranded as her own gym. But then through that, I was able to actually qualify as a level 2 and level 3 personal trainer. As I did it over the course of a year, so it wasn't one of these like
weekend things.
2 week and like a fortnight course or anything you get off Groupon. So it was an apprenticeship that I did for an actual full 12 months through Active Leisure or whatever it was. And they obviously teach you as if you were going into like proper leisure centres, so it's safeguarding vulnerable adults, safeguarding children, it's all like the mental health side of things as well. So I qualified there, and just things started to go downhill a bit with the gym. The owner didn't really, I don't think she actually enjoyed being in the gym herself. So, and loads of different things happened. And anyway, I, through a mutual friend, discussed that I was wanting to leave there, while being up the duff again.
Yeah.
And I just said, the shit time I was having, I was worried about my job, I was worried about income when I was on maternity leave again, because there'd been a period that I wasn't actually paid when I was working there. And so it was just all that stress. And then obviously I was speaking to somebody who'd mentioned that there was a job coming up in the gym. And I was just like, yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to work there. That'd be amazing. So there'd be a couple of occasions when there'd be school related things that I'd maybe see Joe at, sports day and whatever it was, with like the kids were doing football. Just have like brief chats, nothing specific about the gym or a job or anything like that. And then he posted the job online. And I even read through the job description and everything else, and I thought, shit, I don't even know if I can pull this off.
Tune in to find out if she did.
Yeah. Tune in next week. And it was the case that, like I say, I read the brief and I was thinking, shit, am I even like up for this? Because I'd come from, that Curves gym, and we started doing like body pump sessions, and they were doing kettlebell classes with only like 4 kilo kettlebells. And then I was going into a place where there were actual weights and barbells and everything else. But, Joe had said that there was a job on offer, whichever. And I just thought he was just being nice and kind of going, oh yeah, pacifier, and just be like, oh, just because it had come through somebody else, thought he was just going, yeah, that's fine, yeah, we'll consider her for the job. And then eventually I had a message saying, well, are you applying for this job or not? Or do you want this job or not? And I was like, oh, you were actually serious? Considering the fact that I was, 6-7 months pregnant at the time.
Yeah.
So for Joe to actually take that risk on me, like I say, being pregnant, and it was kind of, you can start when you want, we'll play it by ear, you can take as much time as you need off. But I also felt then that I didn't want to also take the piss, knowing that he wanted somebody to come into the gym to start. So I didn't want to be taking too much time off, knowing that my hours were only going to be few and far between to begin with anyway. So I had that peace of mind that I wasn't really going back off maternity leave after like 5 weeks or something. I was still having plenty of time with the kids, still having plenty of time with the baby. So before all that, I obviously went to the gym whilst pregnant and started training there for a bit, just getting a feel for the place, just incognito, nobody knowing who I was, just some random 7-month pregnant woman coming in and throwing a few weights around. So I did that, and when Poppy was 6 weeks old, I think. No, yeah, January. So she was born November. And I came and I started work. Dave, can you keep your voice down? Screaming kids in the background. So Poppy was probably only about 6 weeks old, something like that. And I came back and I started work, but it wasn't full on. I was doing one-to-ones with Emma, who did the client chat a couple of weeks ago. So she was my first one-to-one client with G.I. Joe. And then it kind of went from there, really. So obviously more hours, more clients, more me in the gym. And then the rest is kind of public knowledge to an extent.
Yeah, it should be.
Yeah, it's all over Facebook.
Yeah. So obviously with the eating disorder, we won't dive into that because
Clever enough to I'm over it now. I think it was the initial bit that's like the actual admitting to it. I'm all right now, I can speak.
But that would be something a lot of people that are in the gym have no idea about. But what we see as well is that a lot of people use that, like personal trainers, people get into the industry through that kind of stuff a lot, very often. And there's a few people around that use that as a way of like attracting people to train with them and stuff like that. It's mad. But have you ever thought about going into like doing a nutrition course or anything?
I do want to. But in the back of my head, get down. He's climbing on the windowsill in the living room. Really good parenting. I'm at the back, making sure she doesn't fall. And I literally I could probably tell you as much as anybody who's got, well, maybe not as much, but a fair bit of knowledge about nutrition, just stuff that I've learned just because it was an interest for me, because it was something I was invested in. And even earlier, Dave said, "Are you weighing grapes?" I was like, "Well, yeah." And he was like, "But grapes?" I was like, "Well, yeah." He was like, "Have they got calories in?" Yes. And I literally, off the top, this is my husband, by the way. And I literally, just off the top of my head, I was like, well, I'd probably go with about 100 grams of grapes is probably about 60 odd calories. It's like in my fitness pal, I was like, I should be in my fitness pal myself. Yeah. Because I even when I was, I don't know, when I was younger, which is really bad, I used to carry around, before my fitness pal, a little book that had calories. It was like a pocket-sized book that would go in my bag, that would have the calories for things and all the, the nutrient stuff. So I love learning about nutrition. I could be there on my phone, like strolling through bloody Instagram and stuff like that, not looking at any shit, but listening to people and listening to like podcasts and listening to people who are credible people, who know things about my kids having meltdowns in the background. Apologies. So I would love to go into and do a proper nutrition course, but something in the back of my head, which is a bit stupid really, because I know that when I was in uni, I felt like the pressure got to me. I wouldn't want to potentially go down the route of something so academic that it might cause a stress and a flare-up. So like obviously something like a Mac nutrition course is properly full on. And I think I would shit myself if I had to do that, because I would worry that I'm not managing my time enough. And I think the stress of, like say, juggling kids, work, trying to do that, I think it would potentially get the better of me. So I know myself enough to maybe not go down to that such in-depth route. And it's just telling Dave that he hates him. Just ignore that bit. We'll edit that bit out. So but doing like other types of nutrition courses, maybe things that aren't so full on. Yeah, something like that. I definitely, and I love learning about stuff as well, though. I just like, because it's such an interest for me, I love learning about all the different, and I also love all the shit that goes with it. You know, like I'm a part of all the Slimming World and the Weight Watchers groups on Facebook, and I see, like, you know, the shit that's spouted about stuff like that I have to hold myself back and be like, this is just bollocks. But I like to keep my toe in things like that, so that when people come into the gym and be like, oh, I've been doing like Slimming World, or I've been doing Weight Watchers, because I like to be able to know the background of all these different diets that are going around, so I can be like, right, well, I know the ins and outs of that. And just to be able to be, I don't know, I don't want to just tell people that certain things are shit. I want to be able to know everything about something first before I'd go out and preach about something.
Yeah. So you've got valid, not reasons, but you can validate your thoughts on it.
Yeah.
Rather than just being black labeling it kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's not just on my opinion. And, you know, through personal experience, I have done all the diets probably, as well as a lot of members in the gym, because I've struggled with my weight and I've struggled with nutrition and things like that. And like you say, you think you can go on a quick fix and you'll eliminate certain foods, or you'll only eat something. And so I've done them all. So then I feel like I've got that inside knowledge, as well as now the actual professional knowledge to go with things as well.
Yeah. So how did you find the transition from being a gym goer to being a coach? What was there any like surprises, anything that you didn't think or expect?
It was different in curves, because obviously the average age there was probably 64. So coming from a dynamic like that to coming in, and like, you know, they would be doing simple things, and so it was easy to coach them. And then when I was coming into the gym and just training, and not even shadowing you, just watching what you were doing and how you were approaching clients and how you were speaking to them and everything else, then I even had doubts myself, that I was thinking, right, am I even up to this? Have I got enough knowledge? But I also know, like you say, that I'm not that I'm a quick, well, I am, you know, I'd like to think that I'm a quick learner in something like this, because it's something that I, you know, I'm invested in. So then I would always take the time to make sure that I knew what I was talking about, so that when it came in, and I didn't want to ever come into the gym and say something and you go, what the shit is she talking about? So I had to make sure that I knew what I was on about. Or, you know, there'd be a lot of the time when I was first there that I would step back and I'd think, oh, I need to tell that person to do this, that, and the other. And then you would maybe clock at the same time and you'd say exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
So that kind of, what's the word? Yeah, and like reinforce that I actually knew what I was on about. Just to think, right, okay, well, I'm not actually just winging it here. I do know my shit. And obviously that knowledge and my coaching skills have grown tenfold just with your insight, just sitting back and being able to watch you. And, you know, it's not just, and I've been to gyms where there's just there's bloody instructors and personal trainers just walking around the gym just wanting to bloody flog themselves but not actually give any sort of anything else. So I wanted to be like that. You know, I wanted to be like you then in the gym, to make sure that everybody was having that full package. And I just think that I maybe bring a different dynamic to what you offer, not only being a woman.
Just going to move you on that first, but yeah.
But not only being, like, say, female, so knowing things like that, having had children, that helps with a lot of clients as well. And also having struggles myself with weight, because I would imagine, correct me if I'm wrong, you've never had a weight issue.
Well, being 4 pounds in a day the other day, that's definitely an issue. In a day.
Short-lived. So, like say, you're even like my mental state when it comes to nutrition. So I feel like I can bring something extra, because I can empathize and know where people are coming from. So I think it actually makes it good that you're, like say, you don't have to have ever been overweight or on a bloody show or anything like that to be able to know what you're on about and be able to empathize with someone. But I think it does help just to make things a bit more personal with people.
People will find it easier to listen to you if you've been in their shoes as well.
Yeah.
So if I'm talking to someone about how, going from being obese to being of normal weight, saying it's just doing this, this, and this, they're like, yeah, well, you have no idea what you're on about. You've always looked like that.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Because, I mean, I never, like you said last week or whatever it was, that you played rugby and stuff like that. I used to be the one who was, like, say, the stereotypical hideaway. I can't even catch a frigging ball. I used to be like, I'll go backstopping rounders because I can't catch a ball. And, it'd be cross country. So some of my friends in school were obviously from Buryport. So we go cross country in Buryport and they'd be like, oh, it's fine, we can stay here and then like meet them on the way back. Because I was shit. I was never, I did shot put when I was in school because I couldn't frigging run. So I never came from that sporting background. I was never one of these who were bloody joining every sports club and crap like that. It's not crap, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was never my initial background. So my love of things have come later on, yeah. So it's never been instilled. So I've never, like I say, you see some personal trainers and they probably had abs when they were 8 or something. That certainly wasn't me. I don't think I've got them now, but still. So I think it just helps to have the two dynamics in the gym. And I think, just being a female means that I'm a bit more approachable for certain things. If somebody's going to be like, oh, I'm bloated because I've come on, and you're going to be like, oh, right, okay, yeah, thanks for that. And even the fact that I will openly admit that if I do too many jumping jacks in a row, I'd probably pee myself.
Yeah.
So, your pelvic floor is significantly less than more adept than mine is.
I've not peed myself in the gym yet.
I haven't actually peed myself, but it's got close enough to stop myself just in case it does. But
the only reason we have a mop.
Yeah. But
the reason why those videos are really short, the example videos.
As soon as he does one rep, I just repeat it.
Yeah, all right.
They're all on a loop. But, like different things like that. So I just think that has helped my coaching. And I'd like to think that it's helped a lot of people in the gym as well, that and like I say, I haven't been vocal, and there's some people in the gym that maybe know my history with things like, with having an eating disorder, but it's not something that I'm like, oh, look at me, I know where you're coming from.
Yeah.
But I'm also not going to shy away from it. I'm not going to be, there's a picture of me there the day that I had Poppy with paper knickers on. So it is what it is. And like I say, everybody's got pictures that you don't want to show in the meantime, but once you've actually changed, you don't mind showing them so much.
Yeah.
With your before and afters. Although I feel like I'm in the middle in a minute. I won't go there.
I'm getting on the scanner on Monday, I think, or Friday. I might share the results. I might not. I might cry.
I went on about 2 weeks ago. That stayed between me and the scanner.
Did it?
Yeah, Joe Blagano logging in. Oh, shit.
Yeah.
She can have a P60 or P45, whatever it is.
So how did you find it training whilst you were pregnant and then after having Poppy? Well, we'll talk about after Poppy because obviously that's when I know everything from.
Yeah. I trained through all of my pregnancies. So obviously I've got 3 kids. So when I was pregnant with Alfie, I was properly like hardcore in the gym, like say training multiple times in the week. And that's when I kind of, I would eat properly in the week. And then I'd probably just go on a weekend and you just buy the extra shit and things like that. And you think, right, because I trained so much, I knew that I was still maintaining a deficit. So I was easily maintaining my weight there. And with all 3 of the kids, I had SPD, which is a disorder, which basically just means that when you're pregnant, your body releases relaxin hormone, which obviously just allows for your pelvis and everything to open up to accommodate for obviously a growing baby. But my body produced too much of it, so I had too much freedom of movement in my hips and my pelvis. So there'd be times that I'd be walking and I literally could feel my pubic bone as if it was like rubbing together and it was grinding. So when I was around about 22, 23 weeks with Alfie, I stopped training because of it. Like I say, I didn't have the knowledge behind me. I was just a gym goer at the time. So it was kind of be like, oh, it's causing a bit too much pain, it's causing a bit of discomfort. So I stopped training. And then carried on eating like I was training 10 times a week. So obviously my weight went on then, as you'd expect it to. Then got back down to what I was. I got back to like my normal weight, maybe about half a stone, 10 pounds or whatever. And then I felt I was pregnant again. Whoops. So with Ellis, I trained all the way up until I was 36-ish weeks, I think there. No, about 32 or 33 weeks, I think. And the only reason I stopped there is because I ended up having a chest infection and then just never went back to it then. But training through my pregnancy was something that I didn't even think not to do, because it was something that, because I'd obviously gone back to training after I'd had Alfie and everything. I think it just strengthened everything. So my SPD, although I still had it with Ellis, it wasn't as bad. I learned a bit more about it, so then I adapted my training around it. I obviously didn't do any sort of running and things like that. So it was more resistance-based training that I did then. And then obviously when I was pregnant again with Poppy, just training as I was as normal. I was always doing resistance-based things. And it just made me a lot stronger. And I think because I trained throughout my pregnancies and then continued to go back into training after I'd had the kids, although, like I say, I still had the SPD by the time I had it with Poppy, it was nowhere near the same as it was with Alfie. I could still pretty much do everything that I needed to. There'd be some things, like if I was sitting in a certain position or lying, you'd lie too long on your side when you're in bed, that type of thing. But then you just, you only you know your body, so you know what you can and can't do. And like I say, there's that just taboo that people think you shouldn't be doing things. And I had members coming into the gym when I was still in curves, we were just doing like these body pump type sessions, and the bar, they only had 10 kilos on the bar. But obviously it's like slightly higher intensity when you're doing those type of things anyway. And they'd be coming in going, are you sure you're allowed to be doing that now? Are you sure you're allowed to be using that weight? And I was like, it's 10 kilos. My son weighs more than that, and I still pick him up every day. And it's that kind of, even my mother would be like, you're doing too much, you shouldn't be doing that now, you need to stop. Can somebody else not come in and show them how to do the exercises? I was like, yeah, me, because that's my job, that's what I do. It would get to the point that maybe I couldn't do certain things or demonstrate them as well, but then obviously that just comes to coaching, that you would tell somebody how to do it. And but then with Poppy, even when I was going for like midwife appointments and things like that, and they'd be palpating your stomach and they'd be saying, like how strong your core is. And, I didn't do sit-ups and stuff like that. It would just be from weight training, where you learn to engage your core and everything else that goes with it. And it 100% training made my pregnancy so much easier. There's so many people who are like, and I mean, obviously different people are going to have different type of pregnancies, but it made my pregnancy for me so much different from the first two. The speed in which she was delivered went to, I think, pay part and parcel to the fact that I trained throughout my pregnancy as well. She was first contraction to being physically born within 32 minutes. Delivered by my mother, my sister-in-law, on my bedroom floor with no midwife, no nothing. So even that, I think led to such a swift labour, because I felt strong. And I think that, they say that obviously the stronger that you are, if you continue training when you're pregnant, it just means that it makes for like a healthier baby. It makes for a healthier parent. And it just meant that my labour was really, really, I don't want to say the word easy,
efficient,
but it was efficient. It was swift. And my recovery afterwards was unlike the other two. The day I came out of hospital, they had me in for like 24 hours just to observe the baby. But there was absolutely nothing wrong with me. And, like the first time I was pregnant, or the first time I'd had Alfie, the SPD was still a factor after having him. But this time around, I still felt like I could just go and do anything. I didn't even feel like I'd just given birth to an extent.
Yeah.
Because everything went back a lot quicker. And I can remember with Alfie just thinking that I was grotesque. And after having Poppy, I was back in like normalish clothes within about 2 weeks. Not that they were like skinny clothes, they were skinny jeans. They were like elasticated, so does that really count? But still. But it was a completely different experience having her after having trained properly throughout consecutive pregnancies versus my first. So I'm a massive advocate for training through pregnancy, just making sure that when you're comfortable returning to training, that it's safe to do so, and it shouldn't be, like I say, it shouldn't be that taboo. It shouldn't be that you should be scared to come in, or, but that being said, that's well and good for somebody, especially in somebody who's got a first pregnancy, and they've, maybe had a difficult pregnancy, or they've think, like I say, it's each to their own. But if you're capable, if you've got a good training history, I certainly wouldn't be like, oh yeah, I've just found out I was pregnant and gone rock up to a gym. If you've got experience training, there's absolutely no reason why you couldn't train throughout your pregnancy. And that's, a part of me as a coach as well, that I'd be able to advocate for and be able to know, and because I've had that experience to do it, that I'd be able to advocate that for anybody else who ever came to the gym or had those sort of reservations about doing it.
Yeah, I just want to point out both of us have done our pre and postnatal course, so we're qualified and we've been taught what to do as well in this situation. So it's not just we do it off our own back, off what we read in the Sun newspaper or some crap like that. But
pushed a baby out though, and Joe hasn't.
Say it again.
I said, but I've just pushed a baby out and Joe hasn't.
I've seen it. I've seen it happen. I was basically going through it all,
It was that emotionally scarring for you as well, was it?
I'm not even going there, because most of the people in this room right now have said that sessions in the gym are harder than giving birth. Even Howell. But Siobhan's asked a question as well, touching on baby and pregnancy. Without going into too much detail, do you have any advice on how to prepare for the weight gain during pregnancy, and how do you combat it afterwards? Would you say it's better to train before pregnancy to prepare your body for it?
Training before, obviously, if you're looking to become pregnant, it can be a huge thing. So I know that there's been lots of people who find getting pregnant easier because they've trained. But then sometimes that just comes from people needing to maybe lose weight to allow their body to allow a pregnancy to happen. But certainly if you've always trained, or you've trained to a certain extent, then there's no preparation exercises that you can do in the run-up to be like, all right, I'm going to get pregnant, or I want to get pregnant, so now I need to focus on doing this, that, and the other. You just train as normal, your body adapts to that, and you train your body completely so that your complete body is ready. It's not just because you're having a baby in your abdomen that you think, right, I need to go and like leather out some ab crunches. The only thing that I would suggest is obviously that you focus on a lot of core work, obviously pelvic floor in the run-up to pregnancy. If you know, or if your intention is to try and get pregnant, you would make sure that that is something that you, for one, know how to engage your core and know how to train your pelvic floor muscles, because some people just don't, and engaging your core isn't just breathing in. So making sure things like that are a fundamental part of your training. That should be a fundamental part of your training regardless anyway, regardless of whether you're having a baby or whether you're pregnant. But yeah, it's things like that you obviously need to focus on. Nutrition wise and weight gain wise, you've literally just got to suck it up that you are going to put weight on when you are pregnant. There's no two ways about it. There's obviously a healthy bracket of weight that you should be putting on for the norm. Obviously excessive weight gain isn't good for you. It's not good for your pregnancy. It's not good for your baby. Underweight gain, what's the term I'd use? Whatever. Lack of weight, whatever, you know what I mean. If you don't put enough weight on, that can be as problematic as putting too much weight on. They say that anywhere between maybe 1.5 stone to 2 stone is the norm for weight gain during pregnancy. Not all of that is actually baby. You've got, it's not just fat. I mean, you've got a baby in there. You've got a huge amount of amniotic fluid. You've got placenta. Your body is meant to gain fat to be able to have reserves for things like breast milk. And a woman's body is designed to store more fat than a man's body, particularly during pregnancy. So you can't ever think that you're dieting during a pregnancy. You've just got to eat sensibly and keep a balanced diet. If you train already, obviously members who are in our gym know how to eat a balanced diet. Just making sure that it's nutrient dense more than anything else. And like I say, it's just it's just maybe making sure that you are, I still used to weigh myself. I don't even know why, but I'd still weigh myself when I was pregnant because I wanted to make sure that I wasn't excessive with my weight gain. I think with Alfie, I put on about, I want to say like 3.5 stone when I was pregnant. With Ellis and with Poppy, it was 1.5 stone because I'd learned through trial and error. And like I say, your first pregnancy as well, you just think, oh yeah, I'll just chin it all. And like I say, my lifestyle or whatever changed then because I was training before work. I was going to work, and then as soon as I'd finish work, because Dave used to work shifts anyway, I'd be back in the gym, so I'd have less time to eat. But then, like I say, I'd finish work, I'd go home, and it would just be, oh, right, well, I'm bored now. Dave's not coming home from work until 8:30, so I'd please myself, I'd eat and whatever else. So my first pregnancy, I put a lot more weight on than I ever thought. But then, like I say, then you kind of rein it back. Also, because first time around, I knew how hard it was to get rid of it. And I thought, I'm not going to put myself in that position again come the second time around, because it just depressed me like hell. And the timings of when I had them, it was summertime as well. And I just felt like a blimp. It was horrendous. And like say, you're hot, you're sweaty, and you're just like, right, I've got nothing to wear. And so I didn't want to put myself in that situation again, come second, come third time. I obviously still put weight on, but I didn't let it get to the point that I was shitting myself about having to lose it. It came off slowly and manageably.
With the weight gain for Siobhan, anyway, a lot of people will say you're eating for two, but that is absolute crap. No. I think the advice is around 500 calories extra.
Yeah, and that's only in the last trimester. Yeah, I think it's like increments of maybe 200 calories extra coming into the end of the second. And then, like say, it's the third trimester where you need the extra calories. But like say, it's between like 200 and 500 calories. It's not...
That's nothing.
No, it's not you're eating double your, your caloric intake. It's... And there's, if that's what you want to do, that's absolutely fine. As long as you know that it's not going to be a quick fix afterwards. Media and things like that don't help. So it's always really good when you see real mothers in things like media that, have still got a bit of a jelly belly after a baby. And then you see other people then who make you pig sick because they are literally like back in their size 6 coming out of the hospital. And you're like, oh, Christ. Yeah. But you've just got to be realistic with what's actually going to happen to your body. It's hard seeing your body change. But nobody in the gym is, well, I'd say probably 95% of people in the gym aren't unfamiliar with their own body changing. We've all had peaks and troughs with our weight. We've all got down to our lowest weight and we look at ourselves in the mirror and think, I'm never letting myself get back to that again. And then 6 weeks later, you're like, oh shit, there's like 4 or 5 pounds gone on. So when nobody's immune to it really. And it's just, and weight gain is a part of life. If you're not going to gain a bit of weight and then lose a bit of weight, like say, are you even living your life properly? If you were to be in like properly lean physique all year round, you're either going to be miserable as shit or one boring git.
I remember having a client turning around telling me that I had a bit of a belly coming on. For those of you that have been with me years, you will know I've never had an actual belly, but I was going through a gaining phase and, training in different ways and stuff like that. But everyone should, yeah. Even like winter, for example, because you go into winter and your body naturally wants to hold a bit more weight because the colder months and because of the potential of being ill. So you need a bit more extra weight, especially as you get older, just in case you fall ill. So your body wants it different times of the years. Women, a little bit less lucky with it because their body, like Kate said, wants to hold on a bit more body fat.
But like I say, it's just, you've got to, and like I say, it's taken me a long time to get over myself when it comes to things like that I know that, but having the knowledge as well, that I think, right, okay, well, when I know enough is enough, I know how to get back to where I want to get. Because there's sometimes that I will allow myself, and at the minute I've put more weight on than I would have realistically wanted to. But I also think that's the situation at the minute as a whole anyway. But I'm not. If this could have been like this time last year, I'd be absolutely shitting myself about the fact that I put weight on. But I've got the knowledge. You've all got the knowledge on tap through us on how to do it. But like I say, it's just actually, digging in and actually doing it are two different things. So I've now, some mornings I'll get up and be like, right, what the hell am I actually doing? Stop eating shit, whatever. And that'll be when I've got on the weigh-in scales in the bathroom. And then I'll come downstairs and be giving the kids breakfast. And then they'll be shoving Cheerios in my mouth. I'm going, what? I've literally just had like a go at myself in the bathroom. I've come down 13 steps and I'm chinning Cheerios. But I I've kind of like learned to, I don't know, not live with it, but you know what I mean? I can adapt to it and just not panic about a day that I eat crap. Whereas before, it would lead me into a pattern of disordered eating again. And I would have those binges. I would have times then that that I'd make myself sick. And then I'd be like, right, I'm not eating. And I'd get really panicky about food and things as well. And it's a weird thing that some people might not even get. That I could, I don't know, if I've made the choice myself and I've made the decision to go and eat shit food, then that's fine by me. And if I've thought, right, well, I'm going to have a takeaway tonight, or I'm going to have chocolate, I'm going to have whatever, and I've made that decision, that's fine. If I was out on the hop and we'd gone out for, I don't know, gone shopping or whatever, or we'd gone out for the day, and I thought, right, I'm going to eat well and I'm going to make good choice now whenever we go for a restaurant, that I would maybe go and plan somewhere where we go to eat, or you know that a restaurant would have certain things in it that you can kind of wing it. And then we'd go somewhere that they only serve like burger and chips or something and like pizza. That would properly make me, and it still does, I literally go into a bit of like a tiz about it, to the point then that I could quite happily sit in that restaurant and refuse to eat.
Yeah.
But I'd be like, well, I've not mentally prepared for that. I've mentally prepared for the days that I choose to go and eat high calorie food and calorie dense food. But because this isn't in my plan for today, it's like properly puts me in like a shit mood. And you know, if you're out with somebody, they'd be like, oh my God, just eat it. And I'd be like, no, because I'm not like emotionally stable for eating this without preparing myself to do so. So it's just like a weird mindset. But like I said, I know me, I know my little quirks and the way that I can manage things and the way that I can pull things back. So we'll just go with I'm in a gaining phase for now. We just see what the gains are now post lockdown.
Oh my God, yeah. So does anyone have any questions at the moment for Kate? Anything that you want Kate to talk a bit more about?
No, I can just totally relate to most of what you're saying, Kate. And being a bit older again, being 50 and still, you know, having gone through all the diets,
yeah,
all that process over and over, you know, and it's hard to adjust your brain to think in a different way. So
definitely is.
Yeah, I really appreciate what you're saying.
It's still hard as well, because like I say, there's going to be days and there's sometimes like weeks that I'll just be like, oh, it's fine. And to an extent, I think, should I even be admitting this as a coach, as a personal trainer, as somebody who advocates good nutrition, good mental well-being when it comes to eating and, you know, a healthy outlook on things. But then there might also be somebody in the gym who's actually going through that and thinks that they're the only one who's doing it. And even if you haven't got a stereotypical eating disorder, I think everybody's got elements of maybe disordered eating patterns or little triggers that they've got or little things that they have come to think as normal in their mind, but they're actually maybe not as normal as you'd think. But you just put it down to being, oh, well, that's just me. That's the thing that I do. Whereas actually it can, you know, it could be classified as having, you know, disordered eating traits. You know, there's so many, and we're all probably, nobody's immune to things like that. And there's so much stuff, like say in the media, you just see things everywhere. Other people, and then you associate things like guilt with eating, you associate failure with putting weight on. You think you've, you know, and achieve, you know, you think it's just you've achieved something just because you've lost weight. But then even just, you know, maintaining your weight, or for me, putting weight on and not allowing myself to fall back into those bad habits is an achievement for me. To kind of think, right, well, I've just got to live with the consequences of what I've done, nutrition wise, and just think, right, well, I know how to adapt to it, and I know what I need to do to bring it back. But it's all, I don't know. I think we're all guilty of it to some extent.
Knowing a lot of people in the fitness industry that compete, that people that compete, that industry, or that, what do you call it, industry? Kind of.
Right, isn't it?
All the people with disordered eating, it's crazy. And you speak to those guys and you look at them and you think, oh, it must be so difficult to get in that shape. But the hardest thing that most of them face is the phase afterwards, where the off-season happens and they've got to gain weight. Because they're going from looking amazing to having to purposefully gain weight, make their body look worse, just so next time they compete, they can look better. How you know this with Dan, and it's crazy. They go through some mental arguments with themselves, and I think no one is immune to having disordered eating to a degree.
Yeah.
But it's when it gets unsafe.
Even I can't even remember who it was I was speaking to, and they were saying that they know somebody who does competing, and like I say, they were coming, they'd gone somewhere, and they would come in, chew their food, and just spit it out because they were, and it's just, and like I say, to them, they thought, oh, that's the clever way for me to eat my food and not gain the weight. But then that's a stereotypical eating disorder trait, to do something like that. But then because they haven't, I don't know, you just come up with these little things that you think, oh, it'll be fine to do it. And then you just think, actually, when you put it down on paper, or actually you say it out loud, you wouldn't openly admit to doing something like that, really. And then then maybe the times that you wouldn't admit to it is the time that you think, right, well, maybe it's not quite right what I'm doing then.
You're just trying to justify it to yourself, aren't you?
Definitely. Yeah, you wouldn't openly, I wouldn't run around and go like, oh, I had a proper binge last night and then I spewed afterwards. Because it's just not something that you'd be like, I know that that's not right. So then that's why it becomes a secret. And then other people then do stupid things and then they keep it secretive. But I think being vocal about it is just something that maybe can help other people, or then allow other people to recognize some things that they are maybe doing. And, it might not be down the route of an established eating disorder, but it might be something you think, oh, do you know what? If I did let that escalate, it could definitely get to that point. And even as bad as it is, being able to pick that up in things like your kids. Because, like I said, it started with me when I was 13. And I thought that I was being so deceptive, and I thought I was getting away with it. And my mother was like, do you think I'm stupid? I know exactly what you're doing. But like I say, I had no knowledge. I can remember being in school and my mother doing like Slim Fast or whatever when she was, when we were younger. So she was just having her 2 shakes, and I didn't even know really what they were. And I was just like, linked it to, all right, you drink this and you must lose weight. I didn't realize it was like a meal replacement. So I was thinking, right, well, I feel like I'm fat now. So I would go to school or whatever. And I'd have the same thing to eat in school every single day. It was literally have jack potato and beans, and that would be the only thing that I'd eat in school for like 5 years, not even joking. And then I'd go home and think, right, well, I need to lose weight. So I would go and drink one of my mother's Slim Fast and then have tea, because I thought it was some sort of magic potion to make me lose weight. And I was like, well, this isn't working, because I've just gone and eaten 2 meals, basically. And it's things like that. It's just like, say, it's weird trait that kids pick up. And I'm not saying that I had any sort of issues because my mother was drinking Slim Fast, but it's like, say, it's my issues obviously started long before that. But it's being uneducated about nutrition. And I'd like to think that knowing about nutrition will allow my kids to have a good relationship with food. Because even my kids now, they love fruit and vegetables and, salads and things like that. But they also have chicken nuggets and pizza and chips and chocolate and everything else. But they also know that on the days that they've had chicken nuggets and chips and pizza for their tea, not all of them, obviously, that the next day you'll say, what do you want for your tea tonight? And they'll say something with vegetables because we had chips yesterday. So they know how to relate to having balance in their food. And you think, right, well, no, you've already had sweets today, so you have to have a yogurt for your dessert, or, that type of thing, that they know that that's, how you balance your diet, and it's not just eating shit, and it's not being not allowed to have things. So hopefully that'll rub off on them rather than anything else.
So is there anything else you would like to talk about?
I think I've gasped for long enough.
There's a fair bit there, a bit. Anyone got anything they want to ask? Wait, Carly, yeah.
I don't know if it's the right question to ask, though.
Try asking it. If it's the wrong one, I'll just shut you off.
The meeting.
I'm thinking, if I know how obsessed I get over the scale.
Yeah.
And, does get it, this is, I feel like I'm asking a really personal question, and if it's too personal, please tell me to shut up. But doesn't that trigger a thing of, oh my God, I put on this weight, or or is it because you've learned about it that it doesn't?
It can, but I also know whatever I've done the night before is a direct correlation with what I see the next morning. So if I know,
the knowledge cancels out the
panic, because I know that if I've gone and eaten the same as anything else, if I'd gone and eaten a massive bowl of pasta, although I might have still been in a deficit, I know the next morning I'm still going to get on the scales and potentially be heavier, which is no different to if I'd gone and eaten a takeaway or a bloody tub of Ben and Jerry's, or multiples amounts of food or whatever. But sometimes for me, it can actually be more of a positive thing. If I've got on the scales and I think, right, it's gone up, I think, right, well, now is where I need to now rein it back in and stop letting it get on top of me, and stop thinking I'm getting, not that I think I'm getting away with it, but sometimes you can have a couple of days and you'll eat a bit more and you think, oh, I've gone over my calories, or there's days that I haven't even tracked. I probably didn't track after the photo shoot. When do we have the photo shoot? November. I probably didn't start tracking again until January. And I was getting on the scales every day, and my weight was going up, which I knew it was going to after the photo shoot. And I was okay with that, because I'd allowed myself to know that I was potentially going to put anywhere between 5 to 7 pounds on after the photo shoot, because I was still feeling comfortable within that range.
Yeah.
I'd actually lost more weight than I'd ever expected to. So for me, coming out of the photo shoot, I was like, oh, do you know what? I was happy being at whatever weight I was. So if and when I get back up to that, I'm not going to let it panic me or let me it knock me for 6. And I was, so I didn't even track then until January, but I was getting on the scales, and some days you think, oh, well, my weight hasn't moved, so obviously I'm more in maintenance. There'd be days that my weight would go up, and I think, oh, I've actually lost a pound now, a couple of days, of just curbing it. And I think it's just more, for me, if I know then that every day it's starting to consecutively go up over a course of maybe a week, 10 days, then I think, right, it's time to now rein it back in, or I'd, start tracking again. And even if it's only tracking for 3 or 4 days, gets me back into the mindset of eating properly rather than just allowing those extra picks and leftovers and things like that to start having an effect. But I don't use the scale as, I don't let the scales anymore affect my day, whereas I used to, and it would be the make or break depending on what I saw in the morning. I can get on the scale now and go, that's what it is, and that's the end of it. I don't have that relationship with the scale. I used to, and I'd have that relationship with the scales. I would get on the scales like 5-6 times a day, knowing full well, like say, by the end of the evening, I'm going to be heavier than I was in the morning. And I would still do it to myself and then berate myself for being heavier in the evening, knowing that I'd eaten like 3 meals. If I stood on the scales with a tray of the food that I'd eaten, I was going to be more, whether I'd consumed it or not. So why did I used to think that I was going to be any different when I'd eaten the food? And it used to consume me getting on there, but now it's literally a measurement tool. And that's how I've learned to see the scales now. I don't, like I say, there's obviously some days you get on, you'll be like, oh shit. But it's literally that, and you just think, right, I know what I need to do. I don't let it impact my day like I used to.
Thank you.
Anyone else, guys? Anyone else want to say anything, or are you all good? No?
The sequel will be out next week.
Yeah. Right. Cool, guys. Well, if no one else has got anything you want to ask, we will wrap this up then. I think that was really good. Hope you've all learned a bit more about Kate. Thanks, Helen. Helen didn't want to say anything. She wanted a message saying, thanks, Kate. That was really interesting.
You're very welcome. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah.
And the fears. Over it now.
Right, cool. Right, thanks for coming on, guys.
Thanks, Kate.
You're
Thanks.
welcome.
Thank you.
See you later, guys.
See you tomorrow.
Bye.